Before we get started with the video, I would like to thank you all for 400 subscribers. Not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to hit this number anytime soon, especially not after hitting 300 so recently. But yeah, I honestly don't have much to say, so let us get right to the first question. Judging from this comment thread, I'd say your question has already been answered, so... Well, when it comes to Sonic coming back into Death Battle, I'm honestly more on the side of doing Sonic vs. Goku, mainly due to personal bias. But this seems like a decent option despite this being a stomp in Sonic's favor. Though not gonna lie, I think movie Shazam would work better for this Sonic in particular. And in Tasma vs. Darkrai, beforehand I'd say this is a cool matchup, but now that I looked into it, I actually would really like to see this. I'm not super sure who takes it since I haven't really looked into either character from a power scaling standpoint, but I've seen conflicting arguments over it. As for your second question, I admit I'm not really familiar with Infection AU, but it seems like an interesting concept. I still have yet to finish Mario and Luigi Brothership, but so far I find it to be solid. Least favorite game of all time, huh? That's a tricky one. I've played quite a few stinky games, and from my experience, the ones I hate most are ones that are the most unplayable. Ones that are literally released unfinished and full of bugs and glitches and whatnot. Either that, or the gameplay is just overall shitty. So to answer your question, for now, I think I'll go with Devil May Cry 2. You see, I could at least look at, say, Sonic 06, and be like, yeah, it was bad, but it has some good moments. But Devil May Cry 2 was just a 4-hour nightmare to get through. Speaking of Devil May Cry 2, my most hated boss of all time has to be the attack helicopter from Devil May Cry 2. You literally just stand there and shoot the helicopter for like 10 minutes or however long it takes, and that's it. And for your final question, yes, my most hated villain as of now remains unchanged. Favorite RPG, huh? Let's see. There are a ton I genuinely love, including one I just finished the other day, and there's one I just started, which I think is pretty solid so far. But I'm biased, so my favorite would be Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Look, I love RPGs as a whole, like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and the Mario and Luigi series, just to name a few. But I have a lot of nostalgia for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which explains why I have a Gen 3 bias, despite Gen 5 having an objectively better story, along with Gen 7 and Legends Arceus having better experimentation with the franchise. As for your second question, I admittedly haven't really watched them recently, but I'm open to making a video about it in the future. Not gonna lie, I'm not sure what to think for a least favorite color. Maybe white, since it's like super plain, I guess. I don't know. But for your second question, I have a lot. I have a massive backlog of games I would like to get through in the future, which to be honest, might take until 2030 at the earliest to get through. Though as for this year, I would really like to play Expedition 33. I heard a lot of good things about it, and I like RPGs, so it might be right up my alley. I also just started Donkey Kong Bonanza the other day, since I bought myself a Switch 2 like about a week or two ago. I plan on streaming the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake coming out at the end of the month on multiple platforms. Why streaming? Well, because I did a Let's Play of the OG Metal Gear Solid 3 last year. Oh, and I would like to play Lost Soul Aside when it comes out. The gameplay gives me a lot of modern Final Fantasy and Devil May Cry vibes, and honestly, I am all for it. I'm only really allergic to specific medications. I may or may not be allergic to bees. I have no way of knowing since I never got stung or tested, but I don't take any chances. My favorite season is autumn. I mean, come on. The nice cool breeze, the beautiful leaves, and I get to wear zip-up hoodies without burning to death. The worst food I have ever eaten. Let's see. I don't have a least favorite food in particular, but I do have quite a few I dislike. For example, I don't like mayonnaise or mustard. The only condiment I ever need is ketchup. That's it. And as for your final question, it's pretty tough. Maybe Doomslayer from the Doom series. I mean, you get an immense amount of strength, speed, and durability. I could rip and tear all the bad guys with my bare hands. So essentially, I'd give us all world peace. Next question. I've never really cared about gacha content in general. Personally, I'm more of a VTuber guy if I'm being honest here. As for your second question, if the remake is significantly different from the OG, like to the point where it's basically a different game, I would play the OG first. If it's essentially just small gameplay upgrades and updated visuals, I would go with the remake. And as for your last question, I haven't really went through any of the Mickey Mouse shorts, at least not in recent memory. Lately, the only Disney content I've been indulging in is the Kingdom Hearts series, which I plan on starting 3 in the near future. Gotta get through Donkey Kong Bonanza and Expedition 33 first. I'm still a member of Super Origami Kingdom, or Super Origami Universe as it's now called, albeit I'm not really as active as I used to be. It was an interesting experience to say the least. At the time, I joined back in 2022, where there was the whole Omni King fiasco, which if you don't know, there's a bunch of videos that break that down. But yeah, things are more chill nowadays, and from what I've seen, the only drama surrounding it are things from years ago that have already been resolved, and are essentially just people dogpiling on it, so that's a good sign, I guess. Also, it's funny you mentioned the Surf's Up 2 rant, because I actually wrote the script for it, at least the rough draft of it. I put together a comment in Dr. Storm's video if you want more info, but TLDR, I let 9 other people edit the script and they had a lot to say. Nowadays, Chad primarily writes the scripts, though occasionally some other members help out like I've done in the past. We send the lines to Aster and wait for the video to drop since he does the editing, which I believe answers your question about what we do with our lines. If Ganondorf wasn't voiced by Matthew Mercer, I think Christopher Judge and Idris Elba would be decent choices. If it weren't for that specific rule on Nintendo villains who aren't the big bad, I think Zant deserves another shot. Like, he started off solid, but he was shafted to the side for reasons that essentially felt like Link has to fight Ganon at the last minute. I don't think Ganondorf was even mentioned until this one moment in the game where they brought him up. But yeah, I think Zant was originally intended to be the main villain, only for Ganondorf to take over, so I think he should be brought back with a main villain role in a future Zelda game. I have yet to see the How to Train Your Dragon remake, but from what I've seen, the Red Death looks very menacing, as a giant killer dragon should. If I could bring back any dead franchise, huh? Obviously, there are franchises where there is literally nowhere left to go, but I think Kid Icarus is in a desperate need for a comeback. Same goes for Punch-Out! And as I'm thinking of more, it would be pretty cool to see Conker's Bad Fur Day make a comeback. And of course, the obligatory Bloodborne and Sly Cooper, since the latter literally ended off in a cliffhanger. Would Castlevania count? I mean, yeah, it has the animated series, but we haven't had a new game since 2014 if we don't count re-releases. And I know we're gonna be getting a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 soon, but damn it, I would kill for a Metal Gear Rising sequel. I use this app called InShot to edit my videos. I don't pay for InShot Pro, so I don't have access to all the features, but I do have a good amount of them in stock. I've been using it since 2022, and I don't really plan on changing that anytime soon. The first video game I've ever played, huh? Well, I've been gaming for as long as I can remember. With the NES Mario Trilogy, Sonic Genesis Trilogy, and Bubble Bobble on the Wii. You know, before the assholes at Nintendo decided to shut the Wii Shop channel down, and replaced it with that half-assed eShop. But those were never really games I sat through from start to finish. I would just play through the first couple worlds with my mom, and then just keep starting over for reasons I, to this day, still can't figure out why. I think the first game I played from beginning to end was New Super Mario Bros. DS. At the time, I just got a Burgundy DSi XL, which I don't have anymore since it broke, but regardless, it was the first console I deliberately asked for and received, so yeah. Besides Ganon, I think my favorite Zelda villain would have to be Girahim from Skyward Sword. Zant was also pretty solid, but I wasn't a big fan of how the transition from him to Ganon as the big bad was executed. Just felt really last minute, you know? My favorite Jurassic movie is of course the OG Jurassic Park. I haven't watched Frozen or Big Hero 6 in a very, very long time. Hell, both of these movies, if I'm being completely honest, were pretty forgettable. And I'm kind of back and forth on which of these two was handled worse. I guess I'll go with Hans for now. And as for your last question, I don't really know anything about IHU Genie, so yeah. Alright, that'll do it for this Q&A. If you didn't get a chance to ask a question, I plan on making way more Q&As in the future, so feel free to stick around. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and follow my socials so you don't miss a video. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya, chump!